Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." But what if the path to awakening is found within the dream itself? What if your nightly sleep is not an escape, but a direct line to the universal archetypes and the deep, untapped potential that holds the key to your 2026? Join me as we explore the profound connection between specific sleep cycles, prophetic visions, and the courageous inner work that empowers you to truly see what's coming. We live in an age of unprecedented external information, a relentless digital torrent that promises connection and knowledge, yet often leaves us feeling more disconnected from the most essential source of wisdom we possess: ourselves. Every night, without fail, we close our eyes and disconnect from this outer world, embarking on an 8-hour journey into a realm as vast and unexplored as any distant galaxy. This is the world of sleep, a state we so often dismiss as mere biological maintenance, a simple recharging of the physical machine. But the great pioneers of the mind, chief among them Carl Gustav Jung, understood that this nightly descent is anything but simple. It is a pilgrimage. It is a journey into the foundational architecture of your own psyche, the subconscious mind, a sprawling, ancient landscape that holds the memories, the fears, the potentials, and the accumulated wisdom not just of your own life, but of the human species itself. Jung saw dreams not as the chaotic refuse of a sleeping brain, but as a purposeful, highly intelligent, and symbolic language. He believed the psyche is a self-regulating system, constantly striving for balance. And dreams are its primary method of communication, a nightly report from the front lines of your soul, offering course corrections, warnings, and profound insights. And so, the central question of our journey today is a bold one. Can we learn to consciously navigate this inner world? Can we attune our awareness to the specific rhythms of our sleep cycles to not only understand the messages from our past, but to receive symbolic guidance about our future? We stand on the precipice of 2026, a year that, like any other, will bring its own unique set of collective and personal challenges. What if, instead of facing it with blind hope or anxious apprehension, you could enter it with a deeper sense of purpose, guided by insights gleaned from the most authentic oracle you will ever find, your own deep self? This isn't about fortune-telling or predicting stock market trends. This is about psychological and spiritual cartography. It's about learning to read the symbolic maps that your subconscious unfurls for you every single night. Maps that can illuminate the path toward what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. Tonight, we begin the process of becoming fluent in the native tongue of your soul. Before we descend deeper, I want you to take a moment. In the comments below, write the word awake if you have ever had a dream that felt so real, so significant, that it stayed with you for days. I'm fascinated to see how many of us have already felt that knock on the door. The promise of navigating our subconscious is profound. But we must be honest about the terrain and the reasons this inner continent remains, for most, a terra incognita. The first and most formidable obstacle is the sheer noise of our modern, externalized existence. We are conditioned from birth to look outside for validation, for information, for entertainment, for meaning. Our screens glow brighter than our inner light, and the relentless notifications of our digital lives are a constant, screeching static that drowns out the subtle whispers of the soul. The subconscious does not shout. It speaks in the symbolic language of myth and metaphor, a dialect that requires silence and introspection to be heard. To even begin this work, one must first declare a kind of inner sovereignty, carving out sacred pockets of silence in a world that abhors a vacuum. This is a radical act of rebellion against a culture that profits from your distraction. But even if we achieve this silence, we face a second, more intimate adversary: fear. Jung was unequivocal about this. The journey into the subconscious is not a gentle stroll through sunlit fields. It is a confrontation with the shadow. The shadow is the archetype of everything within ourselves that we have repressed, disowned, and refused to acknowledge. It contains our shame, our rage, our secret resentments, our unacceptable desires. It is the repository of all the parts of ourselves we have deemed unworthy of the light. The conscious mind, our ego, builds powerful defenses to keep this material locked away, because to look at it is to challenge the pristine, curated identity we present to the world. Therefore, many of our dreams are purposefully forgotten upon waking. This dream amnesia is not a failure of memory. It is a success of our internal defense mechanisms. Your ego is actively protecting you from the unsettling truths that the shadow brings forth in the theater of your dreams. To consciously engage with this process is to willingly walk into the dark cellar of your own house and face the phantoms you've locked away. This requires immense courage, a courage that our society rarely cultivates, preferring the comfortable illusion of perfection over the messy, challenging, but ultimately liberating work of integration. And finally, we contend with the conflict of paradigms, the dominant materialist reductionist worldview that dismisses the dream world as, at best, a random byproduct of neural firing, a mere mental clearing of the day's data cache. Science has given us the invaluable language of sleep cycles, REM and REM, sleep spindles, complexes, but it often stops there, describing the what, without daring to ask why. It measures the brainwaves, but ignores the meaning of the symphony they compose. To embark on this journey is to hold two ideas in tension: to respect the biological science of sleep while simultaneously embracing the rich, soulful tradition of depth psychology, to see the dream as both a neurological event and a sacred text. This is the central conflict, a battle against external distraction, internal fear, and cultural dismissal. It is the hero's journey, undertaken not in a mythical forest, but on the pillow, in the silent, dark hours of the night. To navigate this inner landscape, we need a map and a method. Our map is the architecture of sleep itself, and our method is a form of sacred, disciplined attention. Let's begin with the map. Your nightly journey isn't a simple plunge into unconsciousness. It's a dynamic, cyclical process. You begin by descending through the stages of non-rapid eye movement, or NREM, sleep. Stage 1 is that light, hypnagogic state, the threshold where thoughts begin to drift and fragment, where you might experience flashes of imagery or the sensation of falling. This is the antechamber. Then you descend deeper into stage 2, where your brain activity slows, marked by characteristic bursts called sleep spindles and K-complexes. This is where the mind is consolidating memories, filtering the day's information. Think of this as the library of the psyche, where the mundane records of the day are being filed away. Following this, you reach stage 3, the deepest phase of NREM sleep, also known as slow-wave sleep. This is the period of profound physical restoration. Your brain produces slow, powerful delta waves. From a purely psychological perspective, this is the descent into the deepest, most ancient layers of the mind, a connection to the purely instinctual, pre-verbal self. It is a state of near total oblivion, a necessary quiet before the real show begins. After about 70 to 90 minutes, a dramatic shift occurs. You ascend from the depths, your brain suddenly erupting into a flurry of activity almost indistinguishable from its waking state. Your breath and heart rate become irregular. You're voluntary. Muscles are paralyzed, and behind your closed eyelids, your eyes dart back and forth. This is REM sleep, the state in which our most vivid narrative and emotionally charged dreams occur. This is the theater. This is the stage where the subconscious puts on its grand symbolic plays. A full sleep consists of 4 to 6 of these cycles, each lasting about 90 to 110 minutes. Crucially, the composition of these cycles changes throughout the night. The first half of the night is dominated by deep NREM sleep, focusing on physical repair. But as the night progresses, the REM stages become progressively longer and more intense. The longest, most vivid, and most memorable dreams, the ones most likely to carry prophetic or big dream significance, tend to occur in the final cycles, in the hours just before you wake. This is our strategic window of opportunity. So, how do we prepare ourselves to receive and remember what transpires in this sacred theater? This requires ritual. First, the ritual of preparation. An hour before sleep, you must begin to create the silence we spoke of. This means no screens. The blue light from phones and laptops suppresses melatonin production and floods your mind with the very external static you are trying to escape. Instead, engage in quiet contemplative activities. Read poetry or mythology. Listen to gentle, ambient music. Meditate. The goal is to signal to your entire being that you are transitioning from the outer world to the inner. The second ritual is that of intention, what dream researchers call dream incubation. As you lie in bed in that gentle hypnagogic state, you formulate a clear, concise question. For our purposes, it might be, show me what I need to understand to navigate 2026 with wisdom and strength. Or reveal the central pattern one must address in the coming year. State it clearly, with genuine curiosity and humility, not as a demand but as a respectful invitation. Repeat it softly to yourself as you drift off. You are planting a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious. The final and most critical ritual is that of recall. When you awaken, and this is key, do not move. Do not open your eyes. Do not immediately reach for your phone or think about the day's to-do list. Lie perfectly still. The ephemeral threads of the dream are still clinging to your consciousness. They are delicate and will evaporate in the harsh light of waking thought. Remain in that liminal state, the groggy feeling, for as long as you can. Try to grasp a single feeling, a single image, a single word from the dream. Like pulling on a single thread. If you can catch one piece, the rest of the tapestry may begin to unravel. Only then, once you have it held in your mind's eye, should you slowly reach for a dedicated dream journal kept by your bed and write it all down. Write in the present tense, as if it is happening now. Record every detail, no matter how bizarre or seemingly insignificant. The colors, the emotions, the characters, the setting, the strange transformations. This disciplined practice, night after night, is like exercising a muscle. You are training your brain to value its dream content, forging a stronger bridge between the conscious and subconscious minds, and preparing the ground for a truly profound message to come through. After weeks, perhaps months, of this disciplined practice of creating silence, setting intentions, and diligently recording the fragments and narratives of the night, there comes a moment when the nature of the dream shifts. It is unmistakable. It is not the usual chaotic jumble of daily residue, the anxious replay of a work meeting, or the nonsensical collage of faces and places. This is different. This is what Jung called a big dream. It arrives with a quality of luminosity, an almost sacred weight that sets it apart from all others. The experience I am about to describe is a synthesis, a metaphorical representation of such a moment of breakthrough. You find yourself standing not in a familiar place from your waking life, but in a landscape that is both alien and deeply, primordially familiar. Perhaps it's a vast, crystalline library where the books have no words, only glowing, shifting symbols. Or maybe you are at the bottom of a dark ocean, yet you can breathe perfectly, and the water is as clear as air, revealing ancient sunken cities pulsating with a soft internal light. The sensory detail is heightened to an impossible degree. You can feel the cool, smooth texture of the crystalline books. You can smell the ancient, briny air of the deep ocean. There's a narrative, but it doesn't follow the linear logic of cause and effect. Instead, it unfolds with the unimpeachable logic of myth. In this space, you are met by a figure. It's not someone you know, but you recognize them on a level deeper than memory. It could be the archetype of the wise old man or woman, a figure with eyes that hold the dust of galaxies, who doesn't speak in words but communicates entire concepts directly into your mind. Or perhaps you encounter your shadow, not as a monster to be slain, but as a lost, wounded twin of yourself, holding a tarnished mirror that reflects a truth you've been terrified to see. The emotional tenor of the dream is profound. It's an overwhelming cocktail of awe, terror, grief, and a sublime sense of homecoming. The vision related to 2026 might not be a literal scene of the future. The subconscious does not work like a Hollywood movie. It will not show you a newspaper headline from the future. Instead, it presents a living metaphor. You might dream you are tasked with navigating a complex, shifting labyrinth, and the walls are made of ice that is slowly melting. You feel a sense of urgency, but not panic. The wise old figure hands you not a map, but a simple compass whose needle points not north, but inward, toward your own heart. Or you might dream you are tending a small, fragile sapling in the midst of a barren, windswept desert. Storm clouds gather on the horizon. This is the symbolic representation of the coming challenges of 2026, and your sole task is to protect this tiny plant, which you understand, with absolute certainty, represents your own core integrity, your most authentic self. The dream reaches its zenith, a moment of pure, unmediated insight. The labyrinth's melting walls are not a threat, but an opportunity. The old structures of your life must dissolve to reveal a new path. The compass pointing inward is the key. Navigation will depend not on external guidance, but on radical self-trust. The desert storm is not an evil to be vanquished, but a natural force that will test the resilience of what you are nurturing. In that moment of climax, the message is delivered not as a piece of information, but as a holistic knowing that permeates every cell of your being. You understand that 2026 will require you to let go of rigid structures, to trust your inner guidance system above all else, and to fiercely protect your nascent potential against external pressures. You awaken not with a gasp, but with a slow, deep intake of breath. The dream is not fading. It is seared into your memory, vibrant and alive. The room is the same, the morning light is the same, but you are not. You have been given your compass. You have been shown your task. The prophecy has been delivered, not as a fixed fate, but as a sacred assignment. The waking world rushes back in, and with it, the temptation to either dismiss the profound vision as a bizarre anomaly or to interpret it with a crude, literal mind. Both are traps. The resolution of a big dream lies not in the experience itself, but in the patient, respectful, and symbolic work of interpretation that follows. This is where we transition from mystic to psychologist, using Jung's framework as our guide to unpack the dense, multi-layered symbolism we've been given. The first step is to resist the urge for immediate answers. You must sit with the dream's emotional resonance. How did you feel in the crystalline library or the deep ocean? Were you afraid, awestruck, peaceful? The emotion is the energetic signature of the dream, the context within which all symbols must be understood. Once you have documented the raw narrative and the feeling tone in your journal, you begin the work of decoding. And for this, we must understand the language of archetypes. Archetypes, in Jungian terms, are universal, archaic patterns and images that derive from the collective unconscious, the shared psychic inheritance of all humanity. They are the blueprints of the soul, characters that populate our myths, legends, and most importantly, our dreams. Let's analyze the figures from our climax dream. The wise old man or woman, often appearing as a teacher, a guru, or a guide, represents the archetype of meaning and wisdom. When this figure appears and hands you a compass pointing inward, the message is clear. The coming period requires you to cease looking for external saviors or systems of belief. The ultimate authority for your life's direction, your true north, is to be found within your own integrated consciousness. The wisdom you seek is not something to be acquired. It is something to be uncovered within yourself. Now consider the encounter with the shadow, the wounded twin holding a tarnished mirror. This is perhaps the most crucial archetype for forward-looking work. The shadow holds the keys to our greatest potential, locked away with our greatest fears. If the mirror it holds shows you, for instance, a reflection of yourself as ruthlessly ambitious, a quality you consciously despise, the dream is not condemning you. It is inviting you to integrate the energy of ambition. Perhaps your conscious persona is too passive, too accommodating, and to navigate 2026. You will need to reclaim a healthy, focused drive to achieve your goals. The work is to clean the tarnish from the mirror, to see the hidden power in what you have disowned, and to integrate it consciously so it doesn't sabotage you from the shadows. The symbols in the environment are just as important. A labyrinth of melting ice walls is a powerful metaphor for a time of profound transition. Ice represents frozen, rigid structures, old beliefs, stagnant relationships, a career path that no longer serves you. The melting signifies that these structures are losing their integrity. This isn't a catastrophe. It's a necessary thaw. The challenge for 2026, as the dream suggests, is to navigate this dissolution with grace and agility, not clinging to the melting walls, but using your inner compass to find the new, fluid path. The desert sapling and the coming storm tell a similar story from a different angle. The desert is a classic symbol for a period of spiritual barrenness or creative stagnation. The sapling is your new, authentic potential, a creative project, a new way of being, a core value you are finally choosing to live by. The storm represents the inevitable external crises, societal pressures, and internal doubts that will threaten this fragile new growth. The dream's assignment is one of focused protection and nurturing. It tells you that in the year ahead, your primary psychological task is not to fight the storm, but to build a sanctuary for what is most vital and new within you. By patiently working with these archetypal symbols, you are translating the mythic language of the dream into a concrete psychological strategy. The prophecy is not "you will get lost in 2026." The prophecy is, the structures you rely on are becoming unstable. The time has come to cultivate unwavering inner direction. It's not a storm will destroy you, but a period of external turmoil is coming. Your most important task is to protect your nascent authentic self. This is the resolution, transforming a mystical vision into a practical, psychological roadmap for the journey ahead. We began this journey with a bold question. Can our dreams provide insights for our future? And what we have discovered is that the answer is a resounding, albeit complex, yes. The process we have explored, creating silence, setting intentions, learning the architecture of our sleep, and respectfully interpreting the symbolic language of our psyche, is not a parlor trick for seeing the future. It is something far more profound. It is the practice of cultivating a living, dynamic relationship with the deepest, wisest part of yourself. The goal is not to have one single spectacular prophetic dream that lays out the entirety of 2026 like a blueprint. The true goal is to open a permanent channel of communication with your subconscious, so that this guidance becomes an ongoing dialogue, a nightly conversation. Each dream, big or small, becomes a piece of the puzzle, a subtle course correction, a whisper of encouragement, or a gentle warning. You learn to live in a state of constant, humble collaboration with your own soul. This journey is, at its heart, the very essence of what Carl Jung called the process of individuation. Individuation is the lifelong psychological journey of becoming the individual you were always meant to be. It is the process of integrating the conscious and the subconscious, of reconciling the opposites within you, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, logic and intuition. It is about moving from a fragmented, ego-driven existence to a life guided by the wholeness of the self. The insights you gain for 2026 are a side effect, a beautiful and powerful consequence of this deeper work. By learning to face your shadow in the dream world, you become more whole and less fearful in the waking world. By listening to the wisdom of your inner guide, you become less dependent on external validation. By understanding the personal symbolism of your life's journey, you begin to see the mythic pattern in your own story, transforming you from a passive victim of circumstance into the conscious author of your own becoming. So as we look toward 2026, the ultimate message from our subconscious is not about what will happen to us, but about who we must become. The challenges of the coming year are the forge, and the dream work is the art of learning how to use its fire to temper our own spirit. It is the ultimate act of empowerment, the realization that the greatest oracle, the most accurate prophet, and the wisest guide you will ever find does not reside in the stars, in ancient texts, or in another person. It has been with you all along, waiting patiently in the silent, sacred theater of the night, ready to speak to you, to guide you, and to help you awaken not just to the future, but to yourself. If this journey resonated with you, subscribe and join our community of inner explorers. We have so much more to uncover together. Look inside and awaken.